That is better. Alright, is everyone ready for this? We've got 2 weeks on the dot. This is the 17th, 14 days from now. 4-star Magicite is scheduled to release. So let's go over the initial bosses that will be coming out. I suppose we can do Siren and Hades as well, but just keep in mind it's going to be a delayed release just like last time. So our first boss we're going to take a look at, starting from the top, just like last time. Last one was Living Flame, this one will be Marilyn. Also known as Kari from Final Fantasy 1, which was just a mistranslation of Kali, a Hindu god. It's just Final Fantasy things. So this is an enormous health pool, and I think that's the first thing I'm going to do. Before I go into any of these, I'm going to take a look at their statistics, because when I look at their statistics going down the list, I want to have a frame of reference. Like 20,000 defense sounds like a lot, 46,000 resistance sounds like a hell of a lot, 1,800 attack sounds like a lot, but who knows? Who knows how much more difficult or easy this is relative to other bosses. So I'm going to take a look at all their stats. So we got 1,800, 20,000, 1,600, and 46,000. We got 8,000 more defense here. That's a big deal. So 2849, 2046, 2846, 3445. Definitely supposed to. They definitely want you to do this with a wind team or a magic team. 1927. These stats are ridiculously low, especially considering that HP is straight up 33% reduction over Marilyn's. $28.46. It looks like this is the baseline, like 28 and 46. Whoa! Siren at 27.50. And Hades at 35.48. This is definitely probably because physical holy teams are a lot easier to assemble than magical. So they don't want to... They want to encourage you to use the lesser. It makes sense. So, starting from the top, now that we have an idea of what's going on with those statistics, well, actually, let's do offensive now, because that's important too. 1815, 1815, 1815, 1714, 1715, about the same. Except that, again, Ixion has the low stats. Tiamat does buff himself, but we'll get to that when I start looking at their abilities and stuff like that. Alright, so we do see that Marilyn has a lot more attack. Well, not a lot more, but about 100 more attack than the other bosses. Makes sense. Wields a ton of swords, probably a huge physical attacker. So the first thing that we want to see in the AI is please don't have a lot of range attacks. Straight up physical. Ranged physical, single target. Just plain physical. Sword rain, area of effect, ranged physical. Okay. Right. When Marilyn is defeated, she uses Sword Rain as an interrupt. Okay, that's fine. That's kind of it. But what we did see from the stats is that is a very low defensive statistic. So they're encouraging you to use physical water here, which isn't that bad of a thing because magical water doesn't really exist right now. It's basically Rydia. That's it. But because we're going to be using, if you're using front rowers, then you're going to get hit by some of these physical attacks quite hard because of a gigantic attack statistic. If you are using back row physical characters, then you're probably in the most ideal situation as far as that's concerned. So blitz balls, thrown weapons. If you can make room for it, probably the best idea. Otherwise, just gonna have to deal with this this piercing, or no, this physical damage. So this boss is, as I noted, water vulnerable. Nothing special going on anywhere else. A hell of a lot of health. I think the most health out of the entire crop. Are there any water plus weapons that aren't blitzballs or physical that are ranged? No, not yet. Not until Yuffie gets her thrown weapon. Okay, now we get to the AI list. Special, well, let's look at this first. Savage Faraga first turn. Okay. Have an area of effect heal prepared and ready to recover from Marilyn's opening Savage Faraga. It's piercing, so it shouldn't kill anyone, but it'll seriously hurt your whole party, and she'll use her non-piercing area of effect Faraga on her third or fourth turn. Both Protectka and Shelga are useful here, although if you have Rose's USB, it is possible to skip Shelga. Just pray for no mustard bombs except for on full health targets. So it sounds like there's one area of effect magical attack. Nope. There's the mustard bomb. Yeah. So what you're going to want to do if you have Rose's USB is blink these Savage Faragas, and that doesn't sound kind, but you should probably have, this is probably what they're trying to make note of, is you're probably going to have fire resistance on. So this 410 magical fire is acceptable because you'll be reducing that. This is 410 non-element. That's going to pop some people if you're not using Shelga. Where the strongest fire resistance cure you have access to on everyone, Marilyn is the only current 4-star Magicite boss who doesn't use debilitating status effects. And unlike Liquid Flame, there's no gravity attacks. Okay, so this is definitely a much more straightforward fight than a lot of the others here because there's no status effects going on. There's this Savage Flame Slash, 21% chance to stun, interrupt. So that sucks. But that's something you probably can just work around and just deal with it. You would not be in the wrong to use Affliction Break on this boss, though. Dirge Rosa. Do you want the Disco Ball Rosa? So, Affliction Break reduces the chance of Imperil sticking to your party. So that would be nice for the Savage Faragas. It would be nice for just decreasing the chance that the stun goes off. More Imperil Fires. And if you remember from the 3-star Magicites, when these bosses start stacking their Imperils, that's when shit starts hitting the fan. So you may, if you're going for 30-second runs, eventually. Understand that the stats on these bosses are just absolutely insane. And doing 30-second runs for these bosses is very, very unlikely at first. We're probably going to need 3rd Anniversary. We're probably going to need more 4-star Magicite stacking. Just these stats are insane. So just don't expect that. But if you are doing a 30-second run, then you're running into less opportunities to be stacking Imperil. Why I say Affliction Break here, and why I think that would be useful, is because you're not really on a time limit to just simply clear these bosses. And Affliction Break can, you know, allow you to get in that damage over time, because these Imperils stacking up are a big deal. For shortening the length of your fight and your ability to get through that 1 million health. Otherwise, this is really kind of a standard boss. I would suggest using Shelga. So protect a Shelga wall, deal water damage, and, you know, heal it. This boss looks like it does a remarkable amount of damage to make up for the fact that it doesn't really use a lot of status effects like the others. So, if there's any wrinkle to this boss, it would be this. No, not that. When Marilyn is defeated, she uses Sword Rain as an interrupt. If you have no characters left alive after this attack, you lose the fight. Sword Rain is this. It's just an area of effect for 344% range to physical. That's not that bad. It's not piercing. But it's out of turn, so if you get one of those cheesy, okay, the boss goes, and then you kill the boss, and now the boss throws this 344% at you, that's a problem. Yeah, if you're using re-raise, then you automatically win. But Last Stand also works, and so does Blink. So if you have a ninja on the team, and they have a physical Blink stack up, then you win. So it's not as fearsome as it sounds, but it is definitely going to ruin some people's days. Because you are going to get through that 1 million health and bam. This is going to get thrown into your face, and that's that. So if no one's left alive when she uses her... Yes, that is what we said, Crash. If you have no characters left alive after this attack, you lose the fight. Okay, so that's Marilyn. Not that big, not that crazy. I believe we do get into... Yeah, we do. This boss has some statuses going on, as well as some other AI things. Eisgebind. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Not as much HP. Well, only 70,000 less. 8,000 more defense, though. And more resistance. So this boss isn't going to take as much damage as Marilyn does. However, this is the fire vulnerable boss, and as far as the the mean goes, I'm sure most players in the game have better forms of dealing fire damage than they do most other forms. Yeah. What Blyven brings up is a good point that we talked about yesterday at the end of the stream, I think, is that these fights are not things you do once. You do them multiple times because you want multiple Magicite to level up to 99. If you do not master, that's okay. You're not missing rewards because you're going to do that fight again. And you're going to get better at the fight because you're going to get more relics, you're going to get more Magicite for it. Okay, so a lot of attack. Just like, yep, same amount of attack as Marilyn. So that could be an issue once we get into the AI. Welcome, Aurora. Okay, so definitely a lot more defense. So it's a little, we'll call this equal. The 2,000 or 20,000 defense on the previous boss was lower than normal, but I think a 2849 is pretty standard. I think 2846 is standard. I think the 3,000 extra resistance is for all those Terror and Vivi users, like they really care. Strategies: pack paralyze protection. Nice alliteration there. Astra is probably better here than paralyzed resistance accessories, right? Because you rarely want to use status resistance because all of these bosses do a lot of damage. I think the only one that doesn't is Ixion, and he has a way to do a lot of damage, and we'll get to that. But leave your Shelga and Magic Blinks at home. Eyes Combined's damage is entirely physical, so that's nice. But it has a lot of low percentage area of effect paralyze abilities. The back row won't save you much either because most of its attacks are ranged. This definitely sounds like a fight because, you know, taking a look at the AI, where we're probably going to want either just Astra. Just Astra might work because 12% chance to paralyze. But what they do is they throw in a little wrinkle. And they added Sap as well. So not only is it a 12% chance to paralyze on these attacks, but it's also a 12% chance to sap, which can remove your status blink stack. So you really don't want to get it with statuses because then, you know, you can only refresh your Astra too much. So this, from first glance to me, sounds like an Affliction Break and status blink fight. Alright, special Savage Frost Breath. Area of effect 266% piercing. Special in first phase. So what does it do? In default phase, Ixion uses Savage Frost Breath on first turn. So it's another one of those where it uses a pretty large area of effect, but it's only piercing. So you don't have to worry about, you know, having defenses up for it. But you do have to have defenses up for the stuff that comes after it. So they want you to heal immediately. For those of you who use similar strategies to me, where you Mako Might on your Medica user, this is something that you're not really concerned with. But here's the little wrinkle about with this boss, is that this boss can fly. So what happens? Enters default or flying or weak flying phases after 5 turns of being in default or weak phase. So it's just 2 different phase types. So default flying. So if he stays in default phase for 5 turns, then he'll go to default flying. And if he's flying and he goes below 50% HP, then he'll move into weak flying. If, you damage the boss before, if you below 50% HP over 5 turns, then it'll go to 50% weak, and then it'll go into weak flying. So it's just two different phase types. And I don't believe that, like Shadow Dragon and Mist Dragon that we have in our current 3-star Magicite lists, this is not something you can stop by dealing a certain amount of damage. So you can't force a phase change and then reset a timer. If you deal 51% of its health and then the fifth turn comes, it will start flying. Alright, so what else does it have going for it? Single target physical, single target ranged physical, area of effect ranged physical, area of effect physical, area of effect ranged physical ice, area of effect physical ice, touchdown. Okay, what happens? What causes touchdown? I mean, obviously that sounds like he stops flying. In default flying phase, Icebind uses Sheet of Ice on its first turn and Touchdown on its second turn. Then enters default or weak phase as appropriate for its HP level. So what happens is Icebind flies. 100% just Sheet of Ice on first turn. Then second turn it touchdown and goes back into normal. So it's not a very long flying phase. But if you are using melee attacks like Bart's with a sword, for instance, then there is a chance, if you're not timing this correctly, that he will fizzle his attacks on a ranged character, and you don't want it. You don't want that. So either learn the timing of the fight, similar to Mist Dragon, where Mist Dragon goes up or goes into mist form at a certain time, and then it lasts a very short amount of time, so you can kind of time things, so it's not that much of a problem. Or give him a thrown weapon. So Sheet of Ice is area of effect, range, physical with a chance to paralyze or sap, short cast time. And then touches down on second turn, which is another area of effect, 420% physical ice. This is some pretty heavy damage. And boy, would this suck. If at the end of grounded phase it uses Frost Breath for area of effect 500%, then goes into flying and does both of these. Oof. That sounds like it would suck. At least all three of them are ice attacks, so your resistance accessories should help out a lot. What else do we got going here? Weak phase. 30% chance Sheet of Ice. Now you can Sheet of Ice on default as well. So really it looks like the only difference between their grounded phases is stats. Higher speed, higher attack, slightly higher magic. So what's this cauterize thing? Weak flying is not just Sheet of Ice and touchdown. Cauterize. Area effect 266 range physical ice. 15% chance to shap. Short cast time. In weak flying phase, Icebind uses Sheet of Ice on its first turn, Cauterize on its second turn, and Touchdown on its third. Then he enters weak phase. So it has a 3-turn flying in weak phase. That seems easier, because Cauterize is a weak attack, 266%. It's just there to screw up your timings, I suppose, if you're using melee characters. Otherwise, that's like a reprieve. 266%, not just ranged physical, it's also ice, so you can reduce that by a lot. That's like a free turn. Yeah, it's after Dress to the Nines. This is the weird week now. Yeah, Sep does counter Last Stand. All the more reason that Affliction Break and Status Blink is probably a really nice idea here. A nice idea here. So, I mean, that looks like that fight. Pure physical, wear ice resistance, whatever you feel is necessary for you with Affliction Break and Status Blink. And ranged fire damage if you can afford it. So, fire mages. I luckily have access to Balthier and Refia. Refia and other monks, for that matter, use Fires Within, which is actually a ranged monk attack. So they don't actually need to worry about that flying phase if they're using Fires Within. I believe all of their soul breaks themselves are melee attacks, though, so you wouldn't want to use a soul break while he's in flying mode. What are some others? Ruby Spark, if you're using Lock. Papalymo. Balthier and the rest of the Fire Machinists. Alright, so that's Eyes Combined. Next up, we have one that I'm actually fearing. I've heard a lot of hype about this boss. Oh, yeah, Ace. Ace is a good one. A lot of hype about this boss. Savage Tiamat. 915,000 health. It's less than Eyes Combined. This is our ice vulnerable boss. And, you know, I personally feel like Fenrir was one of the top 1 or 2 difficult bosses for 3-star, and I believe this is probably going to be our a top 1 or 2 for 4-star as well. So typical defense is at 28 and 46,000. 1835 typical attack, 15. So ice vulnerable, and that's a lot of stuff that you can do. Okay, strategies. Ow, 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 ow. Tiamat hurts badly. You absolutely need some form of magical mitigation up before Tiamat's second turn, which comes before you can get Wall up without some form of start instant cast Legend Materia, or it will wipe your team. And the Jetfire 2 turns later is no joke either. Tiamat has a brutally powerful mixed offense and the highest offensive stats in this set of Magicite bosses, thanks to her Absorb Strength and Absorb Magic abilities. So, though the stats may be typical, Tiamat can buff herself. You can try to use single debuffs to remove those buffs from her, but they won't make a massive difference given how far above the soft cap her stats are. Once weak phase is over, Savage Twister and Savage Jetfire are absolutely murderously strong attacks, and Savage Jetfire is nearly impossible to mitigate with elemental resistance thanks to its wind and fire typing. Bosses get the same benefit that we do, where if you're doing multi-elemental damage, it will always deal the best element. So with this Savage Jetfire doing wind and fire damage, whichever one of those elements will deal more damage is the one that it will do. So if you have a fire resistance accessory on, it's just going to do wind damage to you. So your fire resistance accessory didn't do anything. That's something that we deal with right now with Mist Dragon, because it has Holy and Ice typed attacks, and we only have one accessory that defends against both Holy and Ice resist. I do not believe we have any that deal or that defend against wind and fire. I believe that a wind blink or fire blink will reduce it to 0 damage, however. That is very important. So, looking at the AI list, we have Absorb Magic and Absorb Strength. Single target reduce magic by 20% for 25 seconds, and stealth increase magic. So what this is saying is beware of using single stat buffs, because it will overwrite them. So say you carry Onion Knight and his ninja mode USB into battle, or Ramza's Burst Soul Break 2. Both of those increase the entire party's attack statistic by 50%. These will overwrite that, and instead of getting plus 50%, you will get a reduction of 20% instead. So beware of that. 10% chance to absorb MP, single target Osmos 1. Probably a free turn. Unless you're really cutting it close with your Hones. 35% chance to Twister. NAT 342% Magical Wind. And 35% chance to Jetfire. Area effect 266% ranged physical fire. So these dual elements are a pain. You are going to want to wear an element. Just because some of these are dual typed, and just because some of these are one type and some of them are the other, doesn't mean you don't wear any resistance. 20% chance to Silent Claw, single target 188% physical, 15% chance of silence. That's a gift. Oh shit. Caught my coffee. Oops. So, yeah, I mean, you can run different strategies, probably depending on what your party's strengths are. This is something I don't think I've ever talked about before, because there have been bosses where you can defend against one thing or defend against the other in the past. So, depending on what your healing is in your party, there's different party makeups. Say you're using a healer burst, or you're entrusting to one of the power healers, Realm and Aphmau. That is a party that is focused on healing in an area of effect manner. If you are healing in an area of effect manner, then you want to defend against one element. But what if your healer is a single target healer? So someone that has like a 30% or a 35% chance to dual cast, and has a single use USB where you get one Kiraga, or you're using Sarah, who buffs at the start of the fight and then starts dual casting. That means that your healing is different. It's more single target focused. So you want less of the team taking damage at any given time. So you want to stagger the damage that you take instead of, okay, I didn't take any this turn, but I took a lot this turn. When you're using a single target healer, what you'll want to do is put wind resist on some people and fire resist on some others. What that'll do is it staggers the amount of damage you take, so you can make sure that your heals are effective every single turn. I don't think I've ever talked about that before. Cool Lego Man. They have the same amount of soul break points that we do. They just chop the bars in half. That's it. So instead of 1 bar being a soul break, once we get that buff, it's 2 bars instead. And why they did that was so that they could introduce soul breaks that took or costed 1 or half of a bar, or 1.5 of a bar. So now it's regular soul breaks take 2 bars, flash soul breaks take 1 bar, and ultra overflow soul breaks, which is something along with flash arts will be introduced in the 3rd anniversary, take 3 bars. Okay, next up. Still more. This is special. Let me look at the AI. Absorb magic on first turn, Twister on second, absorb strength on third, and Jetfire on fourth. So the boss doesn't spam these. It will use these 6 times a fight, 3 each. At the start of the first phase, second phase, and third phase, 1 each. So you could theoretically chance it and hope that it uses absorb strength on, you know, someone who doesn't actually make use of their strength, like an entruster or a healer, and reduce magic on a physical character, or the other way around. If you're using a magical team, reduce magic on your entruster or your healer, or reduce attack on your mage party. So you could chance RNG like that. It seems like it'd be frustrating, but you know, your call. More Silent Claw, which I honestly think that this is such a gift. Unless you're using a mage team. I suppose this is probably... Don't use a mage team. If you're not using a mage team, then all you have to worry about is your your healer getting hit by this. And this is PHY. For all you snow chain users out there, you could have snow draw fire and make sure that this never hit any of your mages. And that is true. Mage teams are much better off because they don't use single stat attack or magic buffs that often. The ones that I can think of would be in this fight, ETA would probably want to use Memento Mori, but by using Memento Mori, you're putting yourself at risk of losing that buff. Or you carry Memento Mori, and you can cancel this magic reduction out by using Memento Mori after you get hit by it. But Memento Mori is not a high damage turn, so you probably don't want to do that. Osmos is such a gift. Area of Effect Magical Wind for Twister. More Twister and Jetfire. And now we're starting in second phase, which starts very early. So this is a 40% phase, so you are going to be seeing these Savage Twisters and Savage Jetfires. 570% Piercing Magical Wind. Sounds like it hurts. Probably going to wear Wind Resist because of that. 500% ranged physical wind and fire. Yeah. Wind Resist seems like the one to use here because this you can't defend against without a physical blink, or, as it noted at the bottom, a wind or fire blink, which you can get on Magicite. I believe Bismarck has one. I don't know if any of the 4-star Magicites do. And then last phase is no different. Same stuff, higher stats, I'm guessing. Yeah, just increases stats in the last phase. But the AI is... Okay, it is slightly harder because it doesn't have a 10% chance to Osmos. Whatever. Yeah, that sounds like the big issue here is Savage Jetfire. The fact that it's dual element. So, what do we got? Jetfire is a physical attack. So if you can spam physical blinks during this fight, you're feeling better. Fenrir is general blink, yes. Physical blink. This is probably the hardest boss. Entrust Arc or Pinello. Yep, that is an option. And not only is it an option for this fight, it's an option for another fight as well. I believe... Nope, not the next one, but Ixion. Anyone want to talk about this fight? Did I miss anything? I feel like this is a little more complicated than the last two. Marilyn is going to be a tough boss, but Eyes Combined, I've heard, is not one of the tougher ones. No, they don't, Kai. They're stat debuffs. Hey, Kappas. Alright. We'll call him the Midgar Worm. 934,000 health, 34,000 defense. Definitely just like the last Earth boss. This is our Earth Magicite. They're discouraging you from using physical because they're recognizing that Cloud is ridiculous. Or rather, Cloud and Zack are ridiculous. And a reduced resistance at 45,000 compared to the 46 and the 49 that we've seen so far. So, Wind Mages, even though they really don't exist outside of Fusion and Alphino, but in the future, they will at least... I'm just making note that that's what they're trying to accomplish with the defense. I think your best option here is still probably Wind Physical, but... Alright. Strategies, area effects slow and area effects stun. That sounds like a pain in the ass. Are by far the most dangerous parts of this fight. Savage Abyssal Maw can do a lot of damage, but the rest of Midgard Worm's attacks are relatively tame compared to the other 4-star Magicite bosses. Bring both Proteka and Shelga and Wall RW and you should be okay defensively, but I strongly recommend wearing slow resistance on anyone that can take a hit from Savage Abyssal Maw without earth resistance. So what do we got? 25% chance of Savage Abyssal Maw, 30% chance, and that's area of effect, 21% chance is slow, and 30% chance. So that's something you can do here. You could run the Affliction Break and Astra strategy to reduce that chance of slow to 10%, or rather 11% rounding up. And then just status blinking everything else. Remember, we do have right, Unicorn. We do have a status blink Magicite, and that status blink Magicite does not get overwritten or overtaken in usefulness by any of the 4-star Magicites. So if you don't have yourself a Unicorn or 5 by now, I would suggest getting them. I suggest 2 Unicorns so you can inherit a attack boon or magic boon onto them. So 1 Unicorn is for a physical team and 1 Unicorn is for a magical team. That would be my suggestion. Yeah, Fenrir slow is 15%. Now we get him even better. You can't just let this ride, especially because he can just spam this instead of his slows happening at phase changes like Fenrir's. We got 21% chance to paralyze, too. 21% chance to interrupt. Special starting in second phase, Savage Tail. In weak phase, Midgar Swarm uses Savage Tail on its first turn and every fourth turn thereafter. This is... You're probably going to want to claw your eyes out if you don't use Affliction Break, or just spam status blinks on this fight, or both together if you want to make your just to keep them the sanest way possible. If you do, and if you can absorb these earth attacks without using the earth resistance like it states here, then try using slow resistance. But I'm just saying you gotta find a way to deal with these statuses, because this fight is a status fight. Otherwise, there's not anything particularly like super powered here. It is a lot of damage. All of these are going to do a lot of damage, but it's not like Tiamat levels, it's not Marilyn levels. Deal with this slow, and you're alright. And this boss is... Yeah, it's Wind. Went over that. Ixion. Now we got some low stats. 667,000. That's super low compared to the others. Defense at 19,000. Super low. Resistance 27,000. Really, really low. But that's for a reason. We got some special stuff going on here. Default defensive phase, Ixion's defense increases to 38,000 and his resistance increases to 50,000. In default evasive phase, Ixion's evasion increases to 420 from 70 and its speed increases to 600. In weak defensive, it buffs to the same stats, except speed increases a little further. And in very weak, exact same stats. So we'll go over the phase changes once we get there. So even starting in default phase, we have the ability Savage Arrow Spark. Oof. Area of effect 344%, ranged physical lightning, dispel. That is why this fight has low statistics, because it can dispel you, and it's not going to matter if it has low statistics, because you're not going to have haste, you're not going to have Protecta and Shelga to protect you. That's a pain, and there are ways to get around this. The first thing that we see is that it is physical lightning damage. One, it's physical. You can physically blink Savage Arrow Spark, so you can dodge the dispel. Is there any Magicite that puts a lightning blink on you? It's not an ultimate dispel, so you keep stat buffs. There is no lightning blink. Wall is it's a stat buff, so you will keep it. So what are your choices here? Physical blink. Physical blink, or something that immediately gets up the things that Aerospark removes after it happens. This is, and I went over this when I talked about it on the tier lists. Echo's USB is an instant cast Medica that puts up Heiska. Any instant Heiska is a very good thing, and I believe that Echo's is the only one. Oh, well, Edge's Super Soul Break 2 as well. Not only does Edge's Super Soul Break give instant Haska, but it also gives instant Physical Blink. So you can cast it before or after here. Aphmau is also instant haste, right? Aphmau is, yeah, God, how did I forget that? And I even talked about why Aphmau is such an S tier healer because of that. So instant physical blinks are actually extremely powerful, and that's why we talked about Arc and Penelo in 2 bosses ago in Tiamat, because Arc's Super Soul Break 2 is instantaneous Kiraga Medica and Physical Blink. Penelo's USB is instantaneous Kiraga Medica, Physical Blink, and 2000 HP stock. Those are 2 very good healers for this fight, and it actually makes sense to actually entrust to them to keep your party active and dodging these. Because that keeps their damage output up. It's passively increasing your damage output by not allowing the boss to reduce yours. Other instant physical blinks, we do have Edge's Super Soul Break 2, which is basically Edge's USB 1. And there will be a Super Soul Break, another Super Soul Break coming up. Ricky just mentioned it in chat. The next Final Fantasy V event has a new character called Kelger, and he gets a Super Soul Break on the event, which is an instant physical blink that is also a Medica. And he has access to Life Siphon, which Edge does not. It's okay. Edge can generate a fair amount of Soul Break points using fast cast ninja abilities, but the Life Siphon's definitely really useful here. Kelger's USB 2, right? It's a very, very powerful Super Soul Break that's on the banner, and one of the reasons the banner's as good as it is because even the bad stuff isn't that bad. Kelger is typed as an Earth Ninja, but there's nothing wrong with Edge using ninja abilities as well, because his Legend Materia 2 is dual cast ninja abilities. So when he gets access to those 5-star Earth Ninja abilities, he'll be a great Earth Ninja. There is also another physical instant physical blink. If any of you out there have it, it's Yuffie's Super Soul Break 1, Gauntlet. It is just instant damage and physical blink. Obviously not as good as the other 2. And to throw a wrench in your spokes, the Savage Arrow Spark is not the only dispel in the fight. There is also a single target Arrow Spark that dispels as well. So besides the dispels, what else do we have going here? Savage Thor's Hammer. Area effect, 490% piercing, magical thunder, 120% chance or 123% chance to imperil thunder. That sounds really painful. Area effect magical, only 330%. And a 20% chance to enter the stance. So we'll call these stances instead of phases because these are phases. Okay, so defensive stance and evasive stance. Those can, unfortunately, because they're part of the AI table, it means they can happen at any time. And that stinks because he gets a lot of stats, up to 38,000 and 50,000 when he enters those. What is his move set inside these stances? 70% chance to Thor's Hammer. At least that's only area of effect, 330% magical thunder. That is something you can live with. Arrow Spark, that sucks. 10% chance to enter evasive phase. So it doesn't have a chance to go back? Oh, so it's a progression. Let me look at the AI table. In any given defensive or evasive phase, Ixion will switch to the other stance no later than the 6th turn in that phase. So when does it go back? Does it only switch back when you reduce its health below a certain percentage? So you switch it back, it goes to very weak, and then it has a chance to move into the defensive and evasive stances again? God, it looks like an RNG fest to keep it out of defensive and evasive. At least these, in default phase, is 20%. Then it's reduced in the second phase, 80 to 40%. And then in last phase, it's reduced further to 10%. This is going to be a pain in the ass fight. This is going to make people smash their head against their desk or wall or phone. Whatever your poison is. Ixion, oh, here's something I didn't even mention this, is Ixion only has 60% break resistance. That is up from 80% on the rest of the Magicite bosses. So break effects actually do something to this boss. So that's actually kind of cool. If you have any of those earth debuffers out there, they can actually, you know, affect this boss, and that's stuff that he can't dispel. So his damage will be at least reduced to not an awful level. While you're recovering from the dispels. Meaning breaks are twice as effective against it as they are against any other Magicite boss. It also has about 2/3 the HP and hugely low resistance in non-defensive phase compared to any of the other 4-star Magicite bosses. This is all to compensate for the fact that the fucker loves to spam Area of Effect Dispel. In my clear, he hit me with back-to-back Savage Arrow Sparks. This is Dispelling attack. At least 3 times during the fight. It is extremely difficult to keep Haste, Protect, and Shell. These are the primary buffs that his dispels will remove. Active unless you have an instant cast Physical Blink and a dedicated Entruster for your Blinker. If you bring a good support, Ixion's damage isn't all that bad, but the fight will drag on for a long time without some way to preserve your buffs. Whew. What am I going to do with this fight? Well, we want to be doing earth damage. I have probably the worst of the options, but at least it's an option, where I have Arc Super Soul Break 2. So I can, theoretically, now that I've dived Shulk, funnel Soul Break points into Arc and spam Physical Blinks, as well as heal the party that way. I also have... So I mean, what else would I use from there? Because I have Bart's, and that's probably my best earth damage dealer. What else do I have? I have Maria. And hello, Eleman. This is definitely not a 30-second clear for me. We'll just put it that way. I also have a... Yeah, Gladiolus with Burst Soul Break OSB would probably be a good option. I wish I had Onion Knight. I wish I had Onion Knight so I could provide a 50% attack buff to Gladio and Bartz. You know what I may do is use Hailstorm and Steel Power. Steel Power on a boss that is affected by debuffs on Bartz. I can give them attack buffs, so I don't need that 50%. I can make up for it. Though I think Bartz is fine anyway, because he can buff himself with his Bursal Break 3, and his USB status also gives him 30%. Alright, so enough theory crafting. I hope... I mean, I like it when I can theory craft, because sometimes it helps other people try to like put together teams, but that's something I'm gonna do when this day comes. And I'm gonna throw a party when this day comes, because it's going to be so many bosses that are going to give me so much trouble, which just gives me so much to get bloody noses thinking about on January 31st. So that's gonna be a fun day for me. Okay, so moving on. Savage Kraken. We've got the inheritor to the smugness that is Bismarck. In stone, it's a mind date, and they're usually pretty reliable, not heifer. Oh, so Kraken has 783,000 health. That is definitely low compared to the other bosses other than Ixion as well, but there's a reason for that, and that's because Kraken has some tentacles. So, while Bismarck was smug, Kraken is just plain X-rated. Defense 28,000, that's certainly favorable for physical lightning teams, and resistance 46,000, which is typical. The tentacles themselves, only 20,000 defense, but the same amount of resistance. They're trying to tell you not to go magical, like I suppose with the statistics. Strategies. I'll start with the notes first. Note that the tentacles are named based on Kraken's left or right, not the left and right side of the screen. That'll be useful when we get there. Because Kraken is facing right, its right tentacle will be on the left side in the screen and vice versa. And, okay, that's just AI. Strategies. For me, the trick to beating Kraken was to just cool my jets until I got mitigation up fully. Trigger and counter attacks. Oh god, this boss counters. Let's go check those out. %20 chance to respond to attacks while right tentacle is alive. Counter water gun, BLK single target, 410% magical water. Respond to attacks while left tentacle. Counter ink. Single target, 266% ranged physical, 33% chance to blind. Same deal here. Water, untyped physical, blind. These are BLK and PHY attacks. It's not NAT, so these can actually be taunted. Do you want to taunt these? Possibly. If the range is a problem, so I guess you could stack defense on a character and have them suck up some of this. What would be a good character to suck up these? Well, Celeste would just eat the counter water guns. Hmm? And the blind would kind of be an issue for Celeste. But you don't necessarily have to taunt those. It's only single target 266% damage. That's okay if you have ways to defend against blind. Let's take a look at some of the options. Because remember, this is something people forget about often because it's not talked about much, is Legend Spheres. What are our prominent lightning characters? And if anyone wants me to look up a lightning character, I can do that. Kain. Minor blind immunity. Doesn't have double stacking blind immunity, which is unfortunate. So it's only a minor. Lightning? Oh. Lightning doesn't have any blind immunity. I know who I want to check. Raijin. Oh yeah, looks like S tier character. Double blind. Who wants to enter the school of Raijin Legend Dives? Laguna, double blinds. Laguna's just such a good character. Prompto. So these, what I'm doing this for is I'm pointing out physical characters that that don't need to wear any blind resistance, so they can use. Yes, I did, Lifeguard Dan. Vasa apparently didn't see my sub 30 with Raijin a couple nights ago. God. Prompto has 2 paralyzed resistances. Orlandu. Double blind. Orlandu's a really nice choice in this fight. Who else? I saw one. King. Oh, King isn't going to be out for a while, but double blind. So I'm just trying to point that out. Say if you didn't have like a status blink or anything, you wanted to ignore the fact that this boss does status, because it doesn't do. Oh god, it does. 33% chance to stop. 20% chance to blaze, and that is that's in second phase. Oh, that's just both the tentacles defeated though. So what we're looking at right here is left tentacle is alive. So if the tentacles are, you're leaving the tentacles up. Then you don't have to worry about the stop, right? Yeah, both tentacles defeated, chance to stop. Tentacles defeated, chance to stop. So it looks like he just kind of goes crazy if you defeat both of his tentacles. So his chance to counter is 20%, respond to attacks. What do they suggest here? Trigger and counterattacks before Protect Shell and Wall were active led to very quickly to a reset of the fight. One possible solution is run a character with Draw Fire, Magic Lure, Sentinel, Runic type abilities, Soul Breaks, or Materias, as all of Kraken's counters are subject to being redirected. If you have Thunder God's Sid's OSB, having him run Draw Fire is an effective way to both build his meter and mitigate the counterattack damage. Exactly true, because he can run Draw Fire and put those physical attacks onto himself, and he naturally has, in his Legend Dive, blind resistance. That's a great choice. So, characters with blind resistance and Draw Fire would be great. Aside from that, make sure you're bringing something to manage the blind if you're bringing physical characters, and otherwise wear water resistance, as all of Kraken's really dangerous damage-wise attacks are pure water damage. Blaze can be a random run ender if it hits the wrong character and procs stop, but it's not worth wearing stop resistance just for it. So Kraken actually sounds kind of easy, because it has low statistics. That's a low defense for a Magicite boss, and if you can find a way to mitigate that the tentacles even exist, you can ignore them and deal with a lowered health pool and a lowered defense and cut through this boss. Did I say easy? I'm sorry, I didn't mean easy. I meant relative to the other Magicite bosses. Yeah, we got some piercing water. Yeah, you definitely want to wear water resistance on everybody. I think the Earth team should qualify for every single situation of that Solus. Oh god, 33% chance to stop. It's a pain in the ass. Man, if you're running Draw Fire, you're gonna suck up. Tentacle. Savage Tentacles. PHY attacks. Remember, you can't be damaged by PHY if you use Retaliate. Is there any good Tauntaliators? Orlandu. That deal lightning damage. Orlandu. Hell, at that point, you want to trigger counters. Cloud, yeah. Alright, well, surprisingly, that is all 6 bosses. I'll have a brief break before we go on to the latter 2 bosses, which will not be released immediately. Does anybody have any questions about these bosses? Yeah, Amarant has a Draw Fire RM. I believe Karilla Elman has a Sentinel RM, which is 200% defense instead of 100%. And Sentinel lasts 25 seconds, while Amarant only gets a Draw Fire for 15 seconds. Yeah, because Kraken does do his stop thing regardless of tentacles. I did see that in his last phase. He has a single target stop, and he has one in regular single target stop. And first phase is also a single target stop. So that is actually a pain in the ass. And that's NAT typed, you can't taunt that. So I must have just missed it. Then honestly, it may be yet another fight for Unicorn. Marsh RM is also Sentinel. Also Sentinel. So Karilla and Marsh. Yeah. Doing a search for Sentinel brings up Marsh and Karilla. That's it. Unicorn is pretty MVP. So, learning how potentially useful Orlando is in this Kraken fight with his OSB. Makes me happy that I'm probably pulling on the Tactics event. Though it's going to be like probably the second or third or first or second week of February, so I won't be able to use that immediately on the fight. I'll have to see what I can do with using the Ashe and Kayn strat. Probably have Kayn does get minor blind resist, right? Yeah. Not set in stone, but I think it's likely right now, Shimra. How do you unlock the 4-star fights? Probably the same way you unlock the 3, and that would be do the nightmares. If there is another stage of unlocking them after doing the nightmares, thinking about diving Kayn, yeah, have you seen the rewards from the new torments, Ricky? They give us a lot of 5-star motes. I think by that point in the game, they are trying to make 5-star diving much more accessible. I'm not that worried about it because I've been so conservative with my 5-star dives up until this point. You just have to beat the 3-star. Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say it is. And you probably unlock Siren and Hades, the 4-star Holy and Dark, by doing the same thing with 3-star. Yeah, they're... I don't have the link specifically. Hold on. I'm not against Kayn's dive if you have this chain. Oh, wait. Yeah. No, that's not a heck of a lot of info. What did I not do? What happened? Kayn's LM2 is gained 2% attack for every, I think, lightning hit or dragoon hit or jump hit that he makes. And he does 22 of them with his chain. So which increases his attack by 44%. To a max of 50%. And then one lightning dive will get you to the cap of 50. So that would allow me to use Sage mode. Every jump hit. Sage mode in the fight. I missed your chat shitpost. Is it under this? A lot of different difficulties here. I don't know. Someone get the link? Can I check his LMR? I randomly pulled it, but unsure of the stat boost. Oh, Kane's LMR is really bad. Dragoon abilities deal 25% more damage when equipping a spear. He uses Lightning Dive, which is a pretty crazy multiplier. I suppose this might be useful for 4-star Magicite, at least at first. But this doesn't affect his soul breaks. Honestly, you're probably going to want to use his LM1. Because at least the increased lightning damage will affect his soul breaks as well as his lightning dives. With all these ability legend methods of increasing stats, do Booska's Faithkas ever begin to become non-efficient? It makes sense not to go crazy stacking them anymore. If you got a 50% attack buff in the party, you definitely don't need anything else. Yeah, if it was jump attacks, that would be something. But it's the fact that it's Dragoon abilities. That means it doesn't affect the soul breaks. Oh. Well, Blyven, this is what I have to say to you. Okay, so moving on to the last two 4-star Magicites. These are a little further into the future. Siren, 830,000 health, tolerable. Defense 27,000, tolerable. Resistance 50,000, ouch. Dark vulnerability. There is green tea, yes. It's both wind and lightning. I didn't put it on purpose. I did not. Self-haste. Oh, that's great. Absorbs wholly. So, probably don't want to be banishing striking the boss. Despite the risk of getting your caster silenced, you pretty much have to wear Holy Resistance on every character because of how powerful Holy and Savage Holy are. Holy will deal 8,000 damage through wall and shell, which will one-shot most characters. Aside from that, bringing in a spell to remove her turn 2 haste is probably a good idea because she has celerity cast times, and has one of the, if not the absolute fastest range timers among all the Magicite bosses. Anything you can do to slow her down, her entry into enraged phase is probably good. So, you don't have to worry about it really because it is only second turn. So if you do want to bring like a knight like Gabranth into this fight to deal dark damage, but also use a banishing strike, whatever. It's only 10,000 health. But obviously, you prefer to be using Dispel. I believe Gabranth also has White Magic 4, so he can Dispel as well. There's no reason to heal the boss. Oh no. Are you guys ready? A night like Orlando, right. Orlando breaking the game since 2016. You guys ready for another Final Fantasy III Bahamut mechanic? 100% chance to counter PHY, BLK, WHT, and NIN attacks with counter Curaja. Self-recover 9,999 health. 100% chance to counter. It is WHT. But probably immune to reflect. Doesn't note it here. Let's see what it says down here. It doesn't say anything about it. And yes, if you dual cast, you will probably get 2 counter Curages. So what can you do about this? There are no summoning dark things other than Ultima Weapon. Seymour is a good choice on the fight. Reigns is rough. Reigns is pretty rough because he's going to be dual casting. And Chases do proc another, yeah. So either outdamage this, which you can. Orlando comes to mind. And good thing Orlando can, because, he's going to be hitting a lot. Orlando's USB is ability double of darkness or night abilities, so he would attack twice. That's 2 heals. And a 25% chance to dual cast. If you have his LMR, that's another, so that would be 3 heals. Yeah, you don't want to remove dual cast because you're going to be doing more than 10,000 damage, so the dual cast will be a net positive. Cloud USB spam is definitely a thing because soul breaks do not elicit counters. So, OSB spam. Siren does lightning attacks, huh? Ice attacks. But you can't defend against them because you need to defend. Oh my god. 890% magical holy. 3 target 890% magical holy. You're not wearing any resistance other than holy in this fight. Won't Seymour be roughing away? Not if you use Unicorn as your Magicite. Can you draw magic WHT attacks? Yes. So what here can you... Can't do this one because it's 3 target, but you can draw this one. Right, it would take Sentinel or... No, I don't even think Sentinel does. It's only High Runic. Right. But you're not dealing any dark damage with Celeste. So, X-Death. X-Death USB. Would be a nice choice in this fight. X-Death cannot use summons. It'd be nice because you also absorb these Blizzaga and Thundaga. They're only 5 of 115. It's not that. There's a very low chance to use these. These are more of a problem. And though X-Death would not take damage from them. Crash, you're pretty far out from getting to this stage of the game, so it's actually not essential information for you. You'll have to rewatch this 3 months from now. Some of these bosses, even for some well-developed accounts, are going to be not beatable. So that's how powerful these are. Alright, well, we have another haste at the 40% phase. A Dark and Holy are a while off yet. Well, not like that long, but... when did we get our Holy and Dark? Was that like a month and a half after the release of the base 6? Yeah. In very weak phase, Siren uses haste on her first turn, so you need to get rid of these hastes. You don't need to at this point. I suppose in very weak it's okay, because the speed is 650 anyway. So maybe once you get to 40%, you just say, thanks for the free turn, and just try to get through this as fast as possible. Alright, so that was Siren. Hades brings us back up to a large HP total at 975,000. 35,000 defense, 48,000 resistance. Those are both pretty high. Is High Runic any good against the fight that is weak to dark? Yes. Yeah, we did go over that a little bit, Blyven. This fight is weak to dark. Siren. And he does, or she does, some extremely powerful single target WHT attacks. Also uses BLK, area of effect, and single target, so X-Death would not take damage from those either. Looking at Hades, we'll find out if, you know, on the other side of the spectrum, Celeste with her holy attacks can also be useful. Alright, so looked at the stats. High defenses, high HP. Gonna take a long time to kill this boss. Special Savage Dark Cauldron. Area effect 438% piercing magical dark, 3000% chance to doom. And ignores magical blank. Okay. Oh god, it has an area effect to spell. Where's the Dispel? A single Dispel at the 80% mark, area of effect. Sucks that it's at 80%. This may be a fight where you want to bring in possibly Native Wall. So you can RW in the attack and magic at Heiska. So you use it once at the start of the fight and then a second time to counteract this until we get access way down the road to the 5-star Heiska for white magic. That's also possible, Jalen. Plus, you know, you got other forms too, like Ramza. Can also, you know, he has Wrath built into his burst. Timed rewards. These are almost exactly the same deal as the 3-star Magicite. Blinkable? No. No, it is not. Obviously, it looks like the biggest problem in the fight. Please use Affliction Break. Oh my god. 30% chance to poison, sleep, paralyze, confuse, silence, and slow. At least this is magic blinkable. Yep, status blink, affliction break. I don't even know if that's enough. Like, if you affliction break this, that's a 15% chance to do 6 statuses. That gets through. You would have to spam status blink. I really think you want to magic blink this. So, instant magic blinks. Rosa. Furion. Also does holy damage with his burst. So Furion, Rosa, and Malik. Furion can Life Siphon, Rosa can Wrath. Right, forgot about Malik. Lightning non-elemental though. Yeah, Furion can Wrath. It would remove a 50% attack buff. Those are the only 3 instant magic blinks in the game. But non-instant are still going to be fine. Just instant are always better, that's all. What are some powerful magic blinks? Got 23. Tyro's Burst? Possibly, because he does Dispel. So maybe you could probably find a good use for this by casting this right after the Dispel. Get a magical blink up. Sarah's Bursts is a good magical blink. Furion, Arc, no. Arya Super, no. Rosa's Super, no. X-Death Super, no. Cyan, no. Aerith, nope. Selfie Dream Stage, no. Seiken Shock. I mean, I suppose Beatrix's stuff, right? Because she does holy damage as well. Oron is not, unfortunately, not a real knight. It's gonna be Saz coming back again for me. 50% attack and magic blink 1 to party. Aranea, no. Ovelia, no. Malik. Nope. Alma's Burst. Arguably better than Sarah's because it's a Kiraga Medica instead of Kira. Deuce grants Last Stand, Magical Blink 1, and High Regen to the party. I have that. It's her super. And that's it. Yeah, Seiken Shock. The old Beatrix super. Maybe just give her a striker and go nuts. Alma is on a holy banner. Alma is on the Orlando banner. Probably not the best thing to spam, though. But still, it's an option. I don't know. What else do we have that's magical on the list? So we've got a 20% chance of Dark Cauldron. Now, if you... Flare is BLK, single target, 650% magical non-element. That's absorbable by Celeste. So that wouldn't trigger the blink. So, if you're magic blinking and if you're using Celeste with her Grand Cross, all of your magic blinks are going to absorb these Savage Shadow Flares and Dark Cauldrons, which are the 2 dangerous things in the fight. It's kind of an interesting idea. I'm excited to try it out. I do have Seiken Shock for Beatrix and Celeste's Burst Break too. I'd like to give it a shot. It really doesn't look like it does a whole lot of damage other than that. Now, this is a 20% and 30% chance, so he's going to spam these magical abilities. Well, the problem, Gutsy, is Celeste's LM2 doesn't really help. Because it's not like Magic Blink, you don't have to repeatedly cast. Her burst. If you have Celeste's OSB, now you're talking. Now you're talking. The big issue with Celeste's LM2 is just that she doesn't have that many soul breaks that are worth casting, you know, and keeping active over the course of a fight. Her burst soul break 1 is something. It's a attack and magic plus 30% to party, but it does give it Ren Holy, so maybe on this fight, maybe. I'm willing to give it a shot. I will use Celeste without Legend Dive, but I don't know, maybe. When's Protect the Espers coming back? Never. That was a one-time thing. Will Celeste's OSB is Holy and Wind. So, Dirge, are you going to be the loser with your dives now that we see JP Tournament rewards? Oh, looser. Oh, yeah, I am. But I was always going to dive a lot of people once the 4-star Magicite came out anyway. It only looks like I'm being tight with it because I don't have any reason to use them right now. Hard content is the reason to use them. Content that I can't clear or content that has rewards that I'm not obtaining, that's a reason to use them. We don't have that right now. Once 4-star Magicite come out, get ready to watch the 5-star modes fly. Kitty regrets? Yeah. Still. Honestly, a lot of these fights, not really feeling the cat girl. We'll see though. Maybe her dual casting is necessary, but that's a problem. Is the value in Ishtola for me right now is a 35% chance to dual cast. It's not unique to her. There are other healers with a 35% chance to dual cast that I'd rather be using. Sarah. Sarah looks like she'd be pretty awesome for this fight with her magic blink. Would much prefer the magic blink over a stone skin for a lot of these attacks. Alma. For the same reason. She's got a great burst. But I would be hesitant to dive Alma because I don't like Alma's USB while I like Sarah's BSB and USB. But the problem with Sarah's USB is I never would be going for it. Because I don't plan on playing in the Final Fantasy 1 event. Yeah, that's probably something I'd do too, Hugh. Edge with Super Soul Break 2, probably worth diving. Alma USB wouldn't be bad here. It is an Astra, but as we noted that if you get hit with more than one status, the Astra only deflects one of them, probably the first in line in the AI. So what value are we looking at here? Haste, Protect, and Shell. All three of those at once completely negates a Dispel. So if you had this timed properly for 80% to go off right after the Dispel, it would be no interruption. What do you get? After that, you get Heavy Regen. Useful at the 80% point of a Magicite fight. It's gonna net you a lot of healing. Re-raise, don't give a shit. The status blink is useful. So yeah, actually, Alma's USB might be useful in this fight. Hello, Borzoi. Well, I'm assuming with this strategy CSDX, you're going to be hopefully using Alma's USB as well as Bursal Break, and if you're doing that, you're probably giving her entrusts. And if you're entrusting a healer with a Curaga Medica and Magic Blink, you're actually not looking in too rough of shape. Yeah, I was looking for it too, Ricky. I couldn't find it. It is weird, but I think it gains a little bit of value with the new chains aurora, because they are activate chain and activate 50% stat boosts for attack or magic, depending on whose it is. So having an alternate form of Heiska, which does a lot of things and is sufficiently powerful, may make something like this semi-useful. That's a lot of motes for a single fight. And they're going to do one of those for every realm. I would be very happy to use Alma, yes. But I'd probably be using her with her burst more often than her USB. Who knows? Maybe I grow soft and dive Alma with just this stuff. She does have a 35% chance to dual cast. Low chance for single target white healing abilities or randomly grant, or additionally grant a magic blink. I don't like that. Legend Materia. Anyway, there is at least right now, a strong chance that I'll be pulling on this banner. Because I've decided not to count on the composition of the first Anniversary Festival banner, as far as it having both Marsh and Ramza on it. I'll pull here, and if I pull Marsh and Ramza's things, and those also appear on the first Anniversary Festival, then I'll skip that banner. I'll skip the banner, and then I'll probably pull for Onion Knight's LMR and physical USB on the Final Fantasy III event with Ark, Ingus, and Onion Knight, and Aria. I just think it's really, 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 really important to have Onion Knight's LMR. I'm never going to chase it, but if it shows up on good banners, then I'm not going to have... I'll have less inhibition to pull for it. The Earth banner? Well, we don't know what's on the Earth banner. But that's only... As far as like what JP got, that is only his physical USB. I would much rather pull on the Final Fantasy III banner with Ingus's USB on it than that one as it stands currently. Because Onion Knight's LMR is also on the Final Fantasy III banner, and I think Ingus is a better Earth character than everybody on that festival banner. other than Bart's, and I have Bart's as USB and Versatile Break 3. Right. So, we'll see. At least the Onion Knight and Ingus and Arc banner is after. But these are 3 banners that are very, very important to how everything drops. So my pulls on this banner will dictate where I go from there, and then once we see the festival banner, then that'll dictate what I go from there. How soon until Bart's gets 4 chains? Any day now. Any day now. Well, it looks like Asher with the Kuchu Lane event for Final Fantasy Tactics is the more characters you have from Final Fantasy Tactics, it grants an Omni vulnerability. It's actually not elementally focused. I don't know how that's going to work on other bosses. Maybe some are, maybe some aren't. But in Final Fantasy Tactics, at least, is not a single element. So just use elemental stuff. I believe it gains, if you're using 5 characters, an Omni vulnerability of 20%. Valentine's Day. Yep. It is what I said, Negatus. I love the idea of the Realm Torments. Alright, is there any reason for me to keep on going over this stuff, or would people be interested in checking out this Omnia? Why can I type it just fine, but I reverse it when I say it? Opera Omnia game.